In this video, I will discuss earthquakes and tsunamis, outlining what are they and what causes them. I will also explain how earthquakes are recorded, where earthquakes and tsunami occur in Australia, how earthquakes are compared in terms of severity, as well as the effects of earthquakes and tsunamis. I will mention who are responsible for monitoring earthquakes and tsunami. I will suggest what you can do to prepare for and what to do in the event of an earthquake and tsunami. I will now talk about earthquakes. Earth's outer layer is made up of separate pieces called tectonic plates. There are 7 large plates and numerous smaller plates around the world. Each of those plates is constantly moving towards, away, or past each other. Movement is not usually smooth and gradual. Instead, it occurs in a series of jerks because of friction between the plates. What causes earthquakes? When stress caused by moving plates gets too large, the rocks break and slip past each other, releasing energy into the crust in the form of vibrations, which we feel as earthquakes. Volcanic activity can occur where plates meet. Molten rock, or magma, is stored in reservoirs under volcanoes and can fracture the rock through which it squeezes, causing earthquakes. Human-induced earthquakes. There are several ways which earthquakes can occur as a result of human activity, such as explosions used to tunnel rocks, which can cause seismic waves. Removing material during some mining processes leaves voids behind, which may unbalance existing stress in the surrounding rocks, causing small earthquakes as the rocks settle into a new equilibrium. Reservoir-related earthquakes occur when a new dam is filled after construction, or there's a major change in water level. Added water can put pressure on underlying and surrounding rocks, which alters pressure on the rock and causes them to break. Aside from natural causes and human activity, objects from outer space can play a part in earthquakes. Meteorites can cause seismic waves to radiate from point of impact, which may be recorded or felt as a small earthquake. Types of earthquakes. There are 2 types of earthquakes. Interplate earthquakes occur along the tectonic plates, and intraplate earthquakes occur away from the plate margins. Most earthquakes in Australia are caused by rocks being squeezed or compressed by horizontal forces due to the collision between the Indo-Australian plate and the Pacific plate to the east, and the Eurasian plate to the north. Foreshocks and aftershocks. Foreshocks are caused by fracturing of rocks under stress. Aftershocks are smaller earthquakes that may occur after the main shock, known as the larger earthquake. Aftershocks are caused by the rocks in the area readjusting to the fault movement. How are earthquakes recorded? Earthquakes are detected by scientific instruments called seismometers, which are sensors that detect and convert any small movement in the earth into an electrical signal. Where do earthquakes occur in Australia? Earthquakes in Australia occur as a result of forces acting on the boundaries of the Indo-Australian plate. There are on average of 80 earthquakes of magnitude 3.0 or more in Australia each year. Earthquakes above magnitude 5.5 occur on average every 2 years. About every 5 years, there's a potentially disastrous earthquake of above 6.0 or more. How do we compare earthquakes? Earthquakes are compared by its magnitude, the energy released, and its effects described by an intensity scale. Using observations made by people who have experienced the earthquake or observed structural damage to buildings. The effects of an earthquake. Magnitude is not the sole factor in determining how much damage will be caused. For example, in Newcastle in 1989, an earthquake with a magnitude of 5.6 resulted in 160 injuries, 13 fatalities, and damage costs of $4 billion. Newcastle is a highly populated city, and falling buildings were the main factor in the fatalities. Whereas an earthquake in Mickering, WA in 1968 had a magnitude of 6.9 that resulted in 20 injuries, no fatalities, and damage costs of $5 million. The low rate of injuries and lack of fatalities was due to Meckering's small population of 240 people at the time. Who is responsible for monitoring earthquakes? Geoscience Australia operates a 24/7 earthquake monitoring centre, which detects, analyses, reports and records earthquakes within Australia and internationally. This centre is part of the Joint Australian Tsunami Warning System, which provides a warning if an earthquake has the potential to cause a tsunami. Earthquakes located in Australia and earthquakes with a magnitude of 5 or greater outside Australia but within our region are catalogued and published on the Geoscience Australia website. Earthquakes occur anywhere in the world with a magnitude of 6 or greater are also catalogued and published on the Geoscience Australia website. Geoscience Australia operates the Australian National Seismic Network, which monitors seismic data from over 60 stations in Australia. The data is sent to the processing centre in Canberra in near real time. That is, they arrive within about 10 seconds of being recorded at the seismometer. Data are also obtained in near real time from over 130 stations belonging to overseas national seismic networks. The data are analysed automatically and reviewed by a seismologist. What to do to prepare for and in the event of an earthquake? I will use the example of South Australia's SES guidelines. Preparing your home. Check that your insurance policy covers earthquake damage and that you are fully insured. If buying a house, consider brick veneer as it's more flexible in the event of an earthquake than double brick and stone. In existing buildings, check for unsupported masonry parapets, gables and chimneys, and repair loose roof tiles and cracks in walls. Brace tall freestanding bookshelves and water heaters to stop them falling over. When furnishing your home, keep chairs, lounges or beds clear of hanging items, such as hanging pictures or mirrors and hanging plants. Store breakables and heavy items on bottom shelves. Secure suspended cupboard doors with sturdy latches. Hazardous materials should be kept in waterproof containers and stored in a secure cupboard to prevent leakage. Essentials. Keep a battery-powered torch by your bed. Talk to your family about the safest areas for you to shelter during earthquakes. Also decide on a place where you should meet in the event that you become separated. Keep a list of emergency numbers readily available, such as police, state emergency service, fire, ambulance, and gas, power and water supplies. Maintain a store of at least 3 days' worth of emergency non-perishable foods and water supply, as store stocks may run low or be inaccessible in the event of an earthquake. During an earthquake. Should an earthquake happen, it's more important to remember 3 things. Drop, cover and hold on. If indoors, stay there. Keep clear of falling debris outside. Shelter under and hold onto a sturdy table, bench or interior doorframe. Keep clear of windows, chimneys and overhead fittings, such as hanging items on ceilings and walls. In high-rise buildings, stay clear of windows and outer walls. Get under a desk or table to stay safe. Don't use lifts. You may become trapped. In crowded areas or buildings, don't rush for the doors. Move clear of overhead fittings and shelves. If outside, keep well clear of buildings, overhead structures, awnings, walls, bridges, power lines and trees. In a city street, shelter from falling debris under sturdy structures or doorways of buildings. Do not stand under awnings or parapets because they may collapse. If you are in a vehicle, stop in an open area until the shaking stops. Beware of fallen power lines, damaged roads, including overpasses and bridges, and landslides. After an earthquake, watch the news and heed warnings or advice on damage, service disruptions, and evacuation. Expect aftershocks. So evacuate if the building is damaged. Check for broken water, sewage or electrical mains. Watch for hazards and tend to injuries. Turn off electricity and water. Don't light matches. Check for fuel leaks and damaged wiring. Check for injuries. Apply first aid. Don't move the seriously injured unless in immediate danger. Don't use the phone immediately to avoid congestion unless there is a serious injury or fire. Check for cracks and damage in the roof, walls and chimneys. Don't waste food or water because the supply may be interrupted. Avoid driving unless for an emergency. Keep the streets clear for emergency services. Don't go sightseeing or enter damaged buildings. Stay calm and help others if possible.